Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear us? Do you want to give a thumbs up if you can hear us okay? Lovely. Technology is working for us today. So great. Well, welcome to everyone. My name is Lucky, and this is not Squishy Mini. We're actually at home today because we've got some in-store browsing happening at Squishy, and we wanted to have a little bit of a distance between us and anybody that's coming into the store today. We're so honoured to partner with Magabala Books to host this event for everyone today. They're a wonderful Indigenous owned and led publishing house that we're incredibly fond of at Squishy. And we want to thank them for this great opportunity to let us share this really special story. Now, before we start, we want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're gathered upon, the Taungurung people, and we pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging. Our two very special guests today are Aunty Fay Muir. Aunty Fay, do you want to give a wave to everybody? Hello. And who is a Boon Wurrung elder, and Sue Lawson, who is an award-winning children and young adults author. Sue, hello.
Hi.
And I would be remiss not to mention that this book, Family, is beautifully illustrated by the very talented Jasmine Seymour, who is a Durham writer, author, and teacher. Artist and teacher, sorry. It's very exciting to have Aunty Fay and Sue with us today. We're so happy that our local community can have access to this great experience. Now, today, Aunty Fay will share a little bit about her country and the book before Sue reads the book for us, and we'll finish up with a song and a family tree exercise. Aunty Fay and Sue are happy to answer any questions that people may have. So feel free to write them into the little chat window and we'll read them out at the end and they can get back to you. So without any further ado, I will pass it over to Sue and Aunty Fay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucky. Hi, everyone. It's good to see your faces. Just like you, Aunty Fay and I've been locked down. We're in Geelong and we'll talk about that. So we haven't been seeing many faces. So it's excited to see faces. Aunty Fay and I live on Boon Wurrung land or Boon Wurrung country. Aunty Fay, but you are from a different country, aren't you, than Boon Wurrung?
Yes, I am. Hi, everyone. I'll just get rid of that. Yes, I'm Boon Wurrung and Wamba Wamba. So Boon Wurrung is around Melbourne and all the way down to Wilson's Prom, and Wamba Wamba is around Swan Hill area. So that's my dad's country and Boon Wurrung is my mum's country.
So there you go. You can later on, after we've had a chat, over lunch, you can maybe get a map out and have a look at the different areas. And where we are is just across from Boon Wurrung in Boon Wurrung. So you'll be able to find that Boon Wurrung country. Aunty Fay, we call you Aunty Fay. I'm wondering, do you guys know what it means that Aunty Fay is an elder? Maybe we could get Aunty Fay to explain, because some people don't understand that. Could you explain that for us, Aunty Fay?
Certainly can. Hi, everyone again. I'm an elder because I have been given that responsibility from my elders, and I have the knowledge that's been passed on to me from my parents, my grandparents as well. So I'm now the holder of the knowledge that I'm passing on to my grandchildren and nieces and nephews' children, and to all children who I visit when I go out into schools.
Oh, you're going to love this. Joshua has just put a message up, Aunty Fay, that says Joshua thinks elders need respect. They do, Joshua. That is beautiful. Aunty Fay, the other thing I probably should have asked before we started chatting, you know, we're talking about country and we're talking about Boon Wurrung and Wamba Wamba, and sometimes people go, oh, isn't country like New Zealand and Australia? What's the country we're talking about?
Well, it's Aboriginal country, traditional land, but the Aboriginal people who were the first custodians of this land before Captain Cook arrived. So it's to do with understanding and learning about where you're born and where you live is different country. In Victoria, we have 44 different language groups. So that's a language country as well. So that's really important to understand, that Boon Wurrung is a neighbour, as well as Jaja Wurrung, Boon Wurrung, Wada Wurrung, and also the Boon Wurrung people. So we are the Kulin Nation, the Central Kulin Nations people.
Aunty Fay, your language is talking about languages. That's something you do, isn't it? You speak many languages and teach people language.
Yes, I do, Sue. I'm a language specialist, and I work with the Victorian Aboriginal Corporation for Language in Melbourne. And I had to learn how to speak my language because I never heard it when I was a child being spoken. So I've had to go away to Bachelor College in the Northern Territory to learn the sounds of language so that I can put that into my language and learn that language. But our languages were never written down by us. They were written down by explorers and different people who came out, the missionaries. They all wrote down our languages. But many of those people came from different parts of the world. So there was German, English, Scottish, and the way they heard our languages is the way they wrote it down. So they were completely different. One word was completely different to the other word of somebody else, say from Germany. So we've had to go through our languages and find out how we want to say our language and how we want to speak it and teach it.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but Aunty Fay, when I was growing up, I spoke my family's language. I learned to speak their language. How come you didn't? How come you didn't learn your family's language? Are you guys confused about that too? Because I am.
Well, my language wasn't allowed to be spoken by my elders because it was a government policy of the day. So my grandparents and my mum and dad had to speak English when they were little.
So it's probably some people watching who can speak a couple of languages because kids are so clever and so good at languages. So they can talk to their family now in English and whatever other language their family can speak, but you couldn't do that.
No, I couldn't. I missed out on that. So now as an older person, as an elder, I'm learning my language and teaching it so that the next generation, the younger ones, can speak the language.
So later on, do you think you could teach us a little bit of language? Are you able to do that?
I can do that in a little song that I'm going to present to the children.
Cool, that'd be great. Let's do a song later on. All right, let's talk about our books. And we've written quite a few together, but we're here talking about this one, Family, which is a follow-up to another one. I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder. We've wrote Respect first, and then Family is just there, sitting there on my bookshelf. Oh, there you are. Aunty Fay's got Respect up. So they're our two books and they're part of a series. So there's two more to come and it's called the Our Place series. Aunty Fay, are you happy to talk about what Our Place means, why it's called the Our Place series?
Well, Our Place, the series is to do with what's important to us as a family. So the first book that we've got is Respect, and that tells us how we respect our elders, our family, our friends, and also the country on which you live, respecting that as well. But also, most importantly, respecting yourself is very important. The next one is Family, and that talks about who's most important within our families and what do they do. Like the elders pass on the knowledge, so that's to do with family knowledge being passed through. Then we come the next two that aren't out as yet, called Country, and that's our connection to country, of where we're born, where we live. And then I think the last one is also very important. It's called Share, and this is where everybody shares whatever they've got with each other. As in Aboriginal culture, that's what they used to do. They used to share their food with whoever was around. and it was and it still happens today.
I think I'm jumping ahead to the next book, but I'm going to share it with you because I love this bit. One of the things I love most about Share is the take only what you need and give what you can. I love that because so often we gimme, 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 and I really like that. It's beautiful.
That is, it's great, and that's that's the message for children.
So, Aunty Fay, let's talk about family, and I think we'll go first of all because for people who aren't aware of how Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander family work, I talk about my aunt, and that's my mum's sister, or I might talk about my cousin who are her kids. But we know that you're an aunt, but that doesn't mean you're my mum's sister. Well, you have different family structure, and I think a much richer one than we do. Would you like to give us a bit of an idea of how that works?
Sure. I'm also a mum. So if my nephews, if I was bringing up my nephews, they would be calling me mum, not aunt, because they would look upon me as their mother. So this is what happens with a lot of Aboriginal families. If they are sort of bringing up other children, other family members' children, so they are the mum to those children, and even and dads as well. So a dad can be an uncle as well as your own dad. So it gets quite complicated.
Do you get confused by it, or are you used to it and just understand it?
I'm used to it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was brought up that way.
Because you can have someone who's much younger than you and they can be your auntie, can't they?
That's exactly right. I can have, say, just a tiny one, and they could be an aunt, or you can call them grannies. And
even though they're a little tiny person, they can be your granny.
That's right. That's right.
It's fantastic, isn't it? So family is really one of the foundation, or I guess what you'd call the thing that you build your whole culture on. What is family to Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people?
Well, family's just not mum and dad and the two kids. Family is our extended family. So we take in the aunts and the uncles, the grandparents, and on both sides of the family, on dad's side and mum's side. So it gets quite big with all those family members when they get together.
Yeah, it would be. They'd make for great Christmases. And
well, that's right. That's right. And it's always somebody's dropping in unannounced as well.
You make life, particularly at the minute, we'd love that.
Yes, definitely.
Aunty Fay, there's a question there from Marg, and I really like this one. I don't know about you guys, but I have godparents. When I was born, I was christened and I had a godmother and a godfather. So, and they're sort of like family friends. For those of you, you'll have special people in your life like it. Marg's question is, are there godparents in First Nation people family, or is that the role of an elder?
That's the role of an elder and an aunt. Or an uncle.
Yep. Oh, beautiful. Thank you for that. Good question. So let's talk about the book family. We talk a lot about sharing things, and we've got that in respect to about sharing songs and stories. Why are stories and songs so important?
Through the songs and the stories, it's the knowledge that's been handed down to you from your grandparents and your parents, and that keeps getting handed down. You start learning about the knowledge when you're a young child, and you've got to sit and listen. If you don't listen, you miss out on a part of that very important knowledge that's been given to you. So it's a gap, like a piece of the jigsaw puzzle was missing in your story, in your life story then.
And when you talk about knowledge, Aunty Fay, is that just, you know, when mums and dads say to you, oh, when my brother and I were little, we used to, and we kind of go, oh dear. Is that what your stories are like in your songs that have that knowledge? What sort of knowledge is in there?
The knowledge that I'm talking about is the knowledge of country, what lives on country, what grows on country, what what fruit is available in what season of the year, and what animals and birds that you can take for food at certain times of the year. So that's all that knowledge that is given to us right from a very young age.
Okay, now I'm really paying attention, because if you don't listen and don't get the knowledge, you don't eat.
That's right.
So, okay, that's important. What about things like finding water and finding places to visit and find people? Is that part of the knowledge as well?
It is. It certainly is. You've got to really read the land of where you come from to understand that there's certain special places on that land that you can visit, some that you can't visit. Some might be men only to go there, some might be women only to go there. So you've got to know all this information before you can start exploring your big country.
What about things for kids? Like, we always tell our children, and you guys will be very familiar with this too, you know, to be safe, to be careful in the water, to not go out of your depth, to, you know, don't put your finger in the PowerPoint, be very careful, all those things. Is that part of knowledge as well? Do you have those sort of stories to keep children safe like we do?
We do. We have certain little stories that were told to us to keep us safe, not going down to the water, not going out on your own. There's one particular one that I can tell you that when I was little, I was told never go down to the big holes in the side of the mound, where that's where the little hairy men lived. And if I went there, I might be taken by the little hairy men. Now, it wasn't until I was about 13 that I really understood what was going on. It was a burrow, a rabbit burrow with all the fur around. And if I'd gone into that, it could have collapsed on me and they wouldn't have known where I was, because I was quite a tomboy when I was little. So I had to, you know, that's what some of the stories were to keep us safe. But the little hairy men was one that I remember just so fondly.
Oh, and probably at the time terrified of the little hairy men if their hairs around the rabbit burrow.
That's right.
And now you can go, oh, I know exactly what that is.
Yes, yeah.
Aunty Fay, in family, because I know I'm going to give you all homework you've all got to do now. When we're finished, you've got to find respect. And I want you to have a look at the campfire illustration. Aunty Fay's in there. You've got to find her. So we've talked a lot about your favourite illustration, respect. What about family? Is there a part of family that you really love for a particular reason?
I think it's the one where the dad or the uncle is showing the young boys their dance, and where the women are showing the girls how to do handcraft. It's that knowledge being passed on.
Can you remember being taught things like that when you were young from your grandparents?
Mostly the stories, because my grandmother, my dad's mum, she was a great storyteller, and she always told these stories on a thundery night, and we'd be sitting there with the flickering light, the candle, because the electricity would have gone out, and she'd be telling these stories, and we just, you know, we were scared stiff. So because she always seems to tell the stories at that particular time of the year when it was, you know, thunder and lightning and things were grim outside, and we'd all be just sitting there not saying a word with our eyes just bulging and our mouths open, taking it all in.
Aunty Fay, I wonder if, now I'm going to read family, but and I haven't checked with Aunty Fay about this, but I think this is very much about family, this story. Aunty Fay is in the throes of writing a book. Is that a hint for you what I'm going to ask you, Fay?
Mm-hmm.
And part of her family when she was little was a very special creature. I wonder if you'd like to tell us a little bit about that special creature.
Well, this special pet that I had was brought home by my dad. He was a shearer, so he used to go right up near Hay in New South Wales shearing. And he brought this little pet home for me. And I couldn't wait until the next morning to go and see what it was. And it was a little black pig that he brought home. And this little pig, we named him Georgie Boy. And he used to go out and go rabbiting with the dogs, digging with his nose, and the dogs would be digging with their feet. And we'd drive past to go to Swan Hill, and they'd all sort of look up at us as we went past, and they'd still be there when we come home at night. All we had to do was whistle the dog, and Georgie boy would come home. He was a pig that he'd sleep in his sty, but he liked to be out with the dog. So he used to just hop over his house, his sty, and if it was too hot, he'd sleep under the old peppercorn tree with the dogs. And it was just a beautiful time of my life, because it was this special animal that my dad had brought home for me, who grew to be an old pig. He was huge by the time he passed away, but he was a beautiful old pig, and he was just one of the family.
Can you imagine if you were driving around Swan Hill at that time and you didn't know about George, and you came across a couple of dogs and a pig wandering around? You'd get a fright, wouldn't you? Especially if George was huge, you wouldn't know what was going on. Aunty Fay, I think we might read the story. Are you happy for me to read the story now?
Certainly.
Break. Beautiful. You sure you don't want to read it?
No, you go ahead.
Right. We figured because Aunty Fay's singing that I'll do the reading, and it's good that I'm not
trying
singing.
to sing, guys.
I had a little, when I used to teach, I had a prep child in front of me one day, standing with his fist clenched, going, and I thought, oh, what's that about? And I was singing at the time. I said, what's wrong, darling? And he said, perhaps it's best if you don't sing. So if a prep child is telling me not to sing, it's probably a fair warning of what my voice is like. I'll make sure I point out the pages too as I read that Aunty Fay was talking about. So this is family. I hope you can see it okay. I'll move back a little bit. Family. And that's our beautiful family. I'm going to ask Aunty Fay, your Jasmine's dedication is to her mudgeon, her family. What's Boon Wurrung for family?
Kulin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so with an M or with an N?
With an N.
With an N, so like Kulin.
Kulin, yeah.
There you go. We've just learned something new. Aunty Fay, I realised as I was talking, I forgot to ask you, when we talk about family, what role does country play in family?
That's a very important question, Sue, because our families are connected to country. So it's where you are born, where you come from, and it's that connection that you never lose when you leave that country. I'm still connected to the Swan Hill, the Wamba Wamba area, and I'm still connected to my Boon Wurrung area as well. So it's sort of gets in your blood. It's something that you understand because you've been taught about what's in country and how important it is for us to care for it. Because if we don't look after our mother, because we call country our mother, if we don't look after her, she won't look after us by providing us with food.
And boy, aren't we finding that at the moment with the way that we've treated country and what's going on. We're really learning that. I'm just going to flick back to 2 pages in here that I think are really important too for Aunty Fay. Now, Aunty Fay was talking about being a Wamba Wamba elder, and we've got the page of the river there, the rushing river. Aunty Fay, there's an expression for someone who comes from inland, or a name for them. How would you describe them as being?
Freshwater people.
So you're a freshwater person, a freshwater person. What about, because you're also Boon Wurrung, so what happens there? And Boon Wurrung is on the coast.
Seawater.
So you're freshwater and seawater?
On both, yes, yes.
What if you had an ancestor who lived, let's say, at Mudajulu, around Uluru? What would you call them? Would they be freshwater because they're inland?
It all depends if there's a running river there, which there's not. So they'd be sort of the arid country.
Yeah. So maybe desert people.
Yeah, or the Spinifex people.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
Yeah.
there you are. That's something you can think about when you look at your country. What would your country be where you are? Because there's people from all over Victoria and I think Australia joining us today. You know, you could look and go, okay, are we saltwater people or am I freshwater people or am I something else? Beautiful. Okay, Aunty Fay, I think it's time you warmed up your vocal cords and we had a bit of a sing.
Now, I've got a friend who's going to help me with this today because I can't be bobbing around going, you know, down to my feet and to my knees. So this is Ted Bear. He's going to help me to when I'm singing the song. I'm going to go through it first in English and then I'll do it with Boon Wurrung language. So first of all, there's your head. It's called the head, the nose, your hands, your feet. So I'll start off. Gawan, Nange is your shoulders. Baring is your knees. And Jinan are your feet. So we've got Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan. Baring, Jinan. Baring, Jinan. Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan. We all clap Marnang. So Marnang's your hands together. Okay.
At this
So
point, Fay, should I point out it took you, oh gee, probably 2 years to teach me how to say one word correctly, get the pronunciation right. So anyone who's being a bit scared, it's okay, we'll get there.
That's right. So I'll go through it again. Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan. Baring, Jinan. Baring, Jinan. Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan. We all clap Marnang together. How's that?
Fantastic. I'm up for it.
Good. Okay. So let's do it again. One more time. So, Gawan, Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan, Baring, Jinan, Baring, Jinan, Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan. We all clap Marnang together. That's very good. I can see one little girl who was doing it there.
All right, I'm ready. I think I'm up for it, Fay. Let's do it.
Okay. You ready?
Yep.
Gawan,
Go on.
Nange, Baring, Jinan, Baring, Jinan, Baring, Jinan, Gawan, Nange, Baring, Jinan. We all clap Marnang together. Very good. So it's head, shoulders, knees and toes. Okay. Well, that's Ted Bear. All right, now we've got a little activity for you guys to do. Seeing we're talking about family, I'd like you all to, when you're finished here, to go out and find some gum leaves and you're going to make yourself a family tree. So you're going to write who's in your family, on the leaf, you'll say your mum and your dad's name and your brothers and your sister's name, and then on different leaves, and then you can hang them up with a bit of string or a little bit of wool and put it on a stick and make a mobile so that you can hang it up and you can see your family tree every time you go into your room. You've got your family tree there. Or you can cut out leaves and do the same thing, colour them in, put your name on it, and then hang them up so everybody can see when they come into your room. You can take them in and show them, which would be really, really, really special on your part.
That'd be beautiful. So does it matter what leaves you use, Aunty Fay?
No, but if you could get some gum leaves because they're nice and long, or the fat ones, you can write your name on them.
Beautiful. And Mum and Dad will be able to help you with that because I don't know about you guys, but I get really confused about which grandmothers where and who goes where. So I think, yeah, that'd be a tough one. Aunty Fay, yeah, you definitely need your parents' help with that. Aunty Fay, with tying them up, what would you use to tie them up? Just cotton or something else?
Either string or wool, whatever you've got. Whatever's easier for the children to use,
Yep,
and what you've got available.
And look really cool on it if you can find a nice branch as well, a nice gum.
Yes, a squiggly branch would look fantastic.
That'd be great. Okay, who's up for that? Who's going to make that, do you think? We've given you lots of homework. So first of all, you've got to find respect and find Aunty Fay and respect, and it's in the campfire page. If you're really lucky, I might see if I can grab a book in a minute. Then you've got to look at your map and have a look at Wemba Wemba around Swan Hill, Boon Wurrung around Geelong, and Boon Wurrung around Phillip Island and Melbourne and that area, and have a look where you are as well. Then you've got to make your family tree. Fantastic. Aunty Fay, I wonder if we shouldn't have another go at head, shoulders, knees and toes, seeing as we've got that pattern sort of stuck in our head. You up for another run through? Okay.
I'll leave Ted there. He's getting a little bit tired. We'll do it, but you won't see our knees or our feet. Okay, so we go. Gawan nange baring jinnen, baring jinnen, baring jinnen. Gawan nange baring jinnen. We all clap marnung together. How's that?
Yeah, that was good. I'm glad we had a little break, because this time it really, thinking of something else and coming back, I went, I've got it, I think. We do one more?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Gawan nange baring jinnen, baring jinnen, baring jinnen. Gawan nange baring jinnen. We all clap marnung together. There we go. How's that?
Good work. Very good work, I think. Now, Aunty Fay, is there anything that you'd like to mention that I haven't asked you about?
No, I think it's just that the children, if they can get hold of our books and read them and look at the illustrations, because there's lots more information in those illustrations to go with the stories. And it's really, really important to sit down and have a really good look. Also, yes, of course you can sing that song with your friends, Joshua. That'd be lovely. And it's just so important to sit down with mum and dad or granny or your big brother and sister and read it together and get them to read it to you, because that's what our books are all about, is getting our families connected to books and our children connected to books, and for you to enjoy and love our books.
Aunty Fay, one thing, like with our Play series, it's about teaching young people about First Nation culture. Why do you think it's important that everybody understands First Nations culture?
Well, we, the First Nations people, were the first people here in Australia. We were here long before Captain Cook arrived in his big boat. So you've got to understand the history of Aboriginal people, because it's also your history, not ours, not just ours. It's everybody's history to learn about First Nations people of this country. So the more that you know, the more that you'll understand, and you'll blossom with that knowledge of what you find out about the First Nations people and their culture.
And I must admit, and I'm a little old lady, I'm not like you guys, young and vibrant and learning things really well, but it changes how you look at everything. Even when that magpie sang, you know how I was saying as the magpie page came on and the magpie started to sing, I felt tears come to my eyes, because I went, oh, that's really special. Because Aunty Fay, I'll get Aunty Fay to tell you about a magpie and why it's so special, but that's why I stopped and went, can you hear that? Why is a magpie special, Aunty Fay?
Well, magpie, or any bird really, is special because, you know, they're still around and they were here long before when the first Aboriginal people arrived, they were here. So they've got a really long history of being in this country. And I'm sure if we asked them, they could tell us a story.
Oh,
Many
magpies,
stories.
definitely.
Yes, yes. And same with Bunjil the eagle. He's our protector and he watches over us. And also Wah, the crow, he watches over the waterways and the rivers of this country, so that we've got fresh water for, for drinking and for animals to drink as well. So we've got some special birds that keep look out for us.
Aunty Fay, what is the Boon Wurrung word for magpie?
Bawan.
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 Because I think for Wurrung it's different to that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, all different. And when you listen to the words, they're so beautiful. I think that's why I'm scared of saying them, because I don't want to instead of saying a beautiful thing like Bawan, I would go Bawan and make it all Aussie. I think the other thing I have to tell you too, I'm a Collingwood supporter, so maybe that was a magpie crying after last night, and that's all I want to say about that. Okay, here is the picture that we were talking about. From Respect, Aunty Fay is in it. Give me a wave if you think you can work out which one Aunty Fay is. Am I close enough for you? Okay, so it's not the guy on the guitar, I'll give you that tip. And it's not the fellow with the clapsticks. So we're down to a few here. Anyone think it's that one? No. What about this gorgeous lady here? That's the one. Aunty Fay, would you like to tell us who else? Because there's a few of your friends in that illustration, isn't there?
Yes, there is. The lady with the white hat and the pom-poms on the end, who's sitting, and she's got a little boy with her arms around her. That's a friend of mine called Laura, and that's her little grandson from Malakuta.
Beautiful. So that's this one here. And I saw a conversation with Laura and Aunty Fay the other night, and Laura popped the hat on the head and I went, oh, it is her. And there's Aunty Fay. Aunty Fay, there's something very special, not just because it's you. What's that on your knee?
That's a possum skin. So it's a possum skin drum.
Ah, and you, a long time ago, and for you little guys, most of you won't remember this, but there was a big celebration at the MCG for the Commonwealth Games. You've played an important role in that, didn't you, Aunty Fay?
I did. I was one of the elders from all the Victorian communities. And I think there was 40 of us and we all wore our special cloaks. Mine was the Wamba Wamba cloak from my dad's country. So I wore that. My cousin, she wore the Boon Wurrung cloak. And it was a very warm night. And we were so hot under those cloaks because they are so heavy and really warm. But it was great fun.
It would have been. Did you decorate the Wamba Wamba one on your own, or do you all do that?
There was a few of us that did it. Joshua wanted to know how you make a possum skin drum. It's the possum skins that you just or the cloak that you pull very tightly across your knees, and then you pound on it with your hands, and it makes it's like the heartbeat, the thumping of the earth, the sound. Wow. So it's the heartbeat of the earth when you play possum skin drums.
That must sound amazing when you hear that.
It does.
Now I'm looking at the time, it's 11:15, and I know for a lot of you that's an awfully long time to sit in your bottoms and listen, and I think you've done an incredible job. Do you want to have a stretch? I'm going to get Aunty Fay just to do something mean to you. I'm going to ask her to call out a few of the words we learnt before and see if you can touch them. Just get her to say the words and we'll see. She might give you a hint and see if you can touch them. So it'll be head and shoulders, knees and toes and hands. So off you go, Aunty Fay. You can be mean.
Marnung,
Oh, good work. I can see a couple. Yep.
Gawan,
Yep. Head. Good work.
Baring,
Was that knees?
that's knees,
Oh, knees.
Jinnen,
I have to go disappear for that one. Find my toes.
that's right. And I'm going to give you another one. Garn,
Oh,
your nose. And this one here, Wurrung, your mouth.
Garn.
Garn, Wurrung.
Wurrung.
Okay.
Beautiful. So you can now make it head, shoulders, knees, toes, and you can add your nose, your mouth and nose as well.
That's it.
I'm
That's it.
wondering, is there anyone who would like to ask some questions, or maybe Lucky would like to ask questions? If you've got any questions for Aunty Fay, or although I think Aunty Fay is much more interesting, I'm just going to hide in the background. But please ask, because this is your opportunity. If you've got things that you're wondering about that you would like to know, because Aunty Fay will tell you.
Okay, Ari.
Oh, you've got one. Beautiful.
So ears are wearing, eyes are mirroring. So you can get mixed up with that one. Mirroring is the eyes, wearing is your ears.
How's that, Ari?
I have a question. Is the,
Yes.
the word warung for mouth, is that the same word that you would use in Jar Jar Wurrung? Is that the same?
Yes, it's sort of the lips or language. That's what Wurrung means, the lips or the language or the mouth. So everything comes from the mouth.
So, Boon Wurrung, it's all mouth at the end of them.
That's right, that's right. Jar Jar Wurrung,
And
Tan Wurrung.
does that mean the people who speak the Jar Jar language? Is that what it translates to?
The Jara people
Yes.
speak their language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aunty Fay, something we were talking about ages ago that I'd heard on a podcast and said to you, is that right? What does it mean, Wamba Wamba, which is your country from your dad's side, Yorta Yorta? We've got quite a lot of countries that have got that two name, the Yorta Yorta, the Wemba Wemba. What does the two name mean?
No. The no language, or the no people.
And why do you think that you ended up, the different countries ended up as no? Why do you think that happened?
I've got no idea. It's just the way things happened all those years ago.
See, I've got a bit of a theory. I think the explorers and the white people turned up, and I think people went, no.
Go home.
This is our country. No. And they've gone, oh,
No. Yeah, and you got, Nari, Jari, Jari, all those, all up the Murray River.
It's fantastic. Just have a look, because there's fantastic maps. I've got one. I'm going to move my camera, so don't get freaked out. Can you see just there? There's a map you can get from a place in Canberra, and it's not very dear, but it's got every country that was around before white people came. And it's so good because you just sit there and look and go, oh, that's where this is. So you can have a look at that online as well and just follow where all the no-nos are up the Murray River. Anyway, oh, there's a good question from Marg. Is there a dictionary of words printed?
Which words is she after?
Because that's the thing, just while Marg answers that, that's the thing people forget, don't they, Aunty Fay? How many languages just in Victoria?
There's 44 and
Wow.
different languages. We're not all the same.
And what about if we look at the nation, how many would there be?
There's over 260 different languages, but then there's dialects as well, so that could be over 600.
Yeah, and we haven't even looked at Torres Strait Islanders or Tiwi Islands or,
no.
oh, wow. Now, Marg has answered basic family words and greetings. So I guess it depends where you live, I think would be the answer, wouldn't it be, Aunty Fay?
Yes, yeah. And just remember, a lot of our languages are reclaimed languages. We're reviving them again. So there's only a couple of dictionaries around with language in it that people have worked on. So the Boon Wurrung language is our dictionary is still being worked on, and it takes a long time.
Faye, somebody is tooting your horn here that there's a great app from VACL that you can learn words from. Gee, I wonder who is involved with VACL. Would you like to explain what VACL is?
VACL's the Victorian Aboriginal Corporation for Languages. It's the main group who looks after all, or who have all the languages of Victorian Aboriginal languages. That's sort of a repository for keeping all our language archives together in one place.
And who's one of the very important people at VACL? You're not blowing your own horn very well.
I'm the education person. There's our linguist, Harley, who's a Dja Wurrung man. And that's it.
So just the two of you?
Just the two. And there's also two others, one in Mildura, Robin Vale, and one in Yorta country.
So Bridie, that app that you said is so good from VACL, it's Aunty Fay's doing. She's been involved in doing all of that stuff. Question from Teresa, which I think I could answer, but I'll give it to you anyway, Aunty Fay. Can you understand all the different languages?
No, I can't. Because, as I said, they're different. But
she's good, but she's not 600 language good.
No, that's right. A lot of our elders a long time ago were multilingual. They had to speak anything up to 7 or 8 languages, because when they went into somebody else's country, they had to ask permission, but they had to speak the language of what country they were going into. And also, they also had to learn, when they got married, the wife or the husband's language, and then the grandparents' language on both sides. So that's about 7 or 8 languages just in one family to understand, so you can talk between each other.
Unbelievable. There's a film, and it's not for little people, but it's for adults, but you guys can hear this story. There's a little boy who was having a lot of trouble at school, and he was having a lot of trouble learning and getting into trouble. And one of the main reasons was he could speak 11 languages, but he couldn't speak English very well, and school was all in English. And this kid's story, for those of you who know it, it just breaks your heart in 1,000 ways. But can you imagine 11 languages? I'm flat out speaking English.
And he was having problems with English because that's not his first language.
Yeah, and he thought he was dumb, silly, not intelligent, and yet, wow, what a brain.
That's right.
Bridie's saying, thank you, Aunty Fay. She loves using the app. And from Hannah, she's got the Wurrung language app, not lap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fantastic. Lucky, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask, or any other?
No, we're pretty good. I think it's probably a good time for everybody to give a giant round of applause to Sue and Fay for that beautiful experience. So shall we just all have a really nice clap there? Thank you so much for not only sharing your wonderful book today, but also sharing your knowledge and your stories, Aunty Fay. Thank you for my stylist.
I wish I had one of those.
It's such an honour to have you both join us and to share what you know. And we hope that was a really great experience for all of the young people, and also the not so young people that joined in today. And there were things that you learnt and you can take away from today. Our country has a really, really long history, and many of us have only been exposed to a very small amount of that. So thank you, Aunty Fay, for sharing a little bit more of that story for us today. And
My pleasure.
we will be able to see yourself and Sue in person one day soon, and we can give you a hug or a high five, whatever your preference. And yeah, it was really lovely to have you. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you too, Aunty Fay, because I know you must get so sick of the questions that I fire at you, and we all fire at you. So thank you. And from Aunty Fay and I, and I'm sure Aunty Fay will say this herself, Lucky and Kristen and Vega, thank you so much for your loving our books and all the Magabala books, and for your passion in sharing them with people, because that's how we're going to be a better nation through you guys. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, have a lovely weekend, everyone. Enjoy the sunshine if it's sunny where you are.
Thank
And
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, we might see you at story time next week. Otherwise, we'll see you around somewhere. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.